Morning, YouTube. I wanted to share with you a how-to home project I did. I had a need for a target stand when I go to the range or go to an outdoor range. Sometimes you go there and the targets are all shot up. Not usually, but there's a time too when you go there and you don't have any targets to shoot up, or it takes you a half hour to fix the ones that are there. So I got on YouTube, started looking around different options for the bases. A lot of people have been using PVC. Some guys been using 1x5s or 1x6s, and basically what I did was took a trip to the garage and see what scraps I had laying around. This is a low-cost target stand. That was my goal from the get-go. And hold on a second, I'll get a tape measure. Basically what I got here is some 4x4 landscape timbers I had that were cut-offs from other projects. This is actually pressure-treated outdoor lumber, which works out really well, because it not only does it add to the weight, but I can take it outside, which is the intent of it anyway. And if it gets wet, no big deal. The wood will still be good for a while, and this thing ought to last me, probably about 10 or 15 years, maybe more than that. Who knows? But to be honest, I didn't make any measurements for the base. Basically, what I did was just take what I had, and in this case, the wide measurement is roughly 26.5 inches for the width on the long side, and on the shorter stick I'm roughly 23 inches, just a little under. Like I said, I didn't cut anything off. It's basically two pieces of scrap that I had, and what I did was do a lap joint. Basically I took half the distance between the 2x4 and cut down half. As you can see, I did it up there and just made a lap joint. Laid the two together to give it some structure. This thing's pretty stiff. What I also did was, of course, you got to have paracord. I had some paracord, and what I did, this thing's made to be knocked down, so I can actually lift this piece out and have tear it down. I can leave it assembled like it is, or I can lift this piece out and have it separate. I didn't want to carry them both in two separate hands, so what I did is just took about an 18-inch piece of paracord, did a simple 3-strand braid, drilled two 9/32 holes at about a 45, tied it off an overhand knot on one end, brought it up, braided it through, ran the other piece through, and then tied it off. So now I got a good little carry handle. I can carry it assembled, or I can carry it knocked down. Then what I basically did was take 1x2x6s, ferring strips. Went to the store, got #1 grade. Kind of funny, because I think if you got any other grade than #1, you'd be making boomerangs out of them. They're all about 35 sticks. I got two of them that were probably not worth no more than about 2 inches or so, but that's fine too. You can work with that. But basically I took a 1x2x6 stick, ferring stick. It's just #1 pine, and what I did was I think it was a 3/4 inch drill bit. I marked off 18 inches on the OD. So basically, if you can see that, basically I went with an OD dimension of 18 inches. That's what I was using for my target. I think my target's about 14 in width. It gives me a good place to actually drill holes and use wire ties to hold my cardboard on. I'll show you that in a minute. But basically I took an 18-inch OD width. So I'll mark my sticks on the outside, laid a stick on top, traced it out, made a square rectangle, and then took a 3/4 inch drill bit, and with the drill bit I drilled a hole there on the one corner, one on the other corner, and then I just took a chisel. I had a 1/2 inch chisel and a 3/4 inch chisel, and chiseled out and squared it up the corners. Basically you got a round bit, so you're going to have a little bit of material here and materials in the corner. So what I just did was take the chisel and squared it up, and then test fitted my ferring strips so they fit tight. They're pretty daggone snug. Just a tiny little plate, enough to get them in there, but I got to kind of like tap them in, so they're pretty daggone snug. After looking at it, I got a pretty windy day today, and occasionally on a heavy gust it would tip over. So what I did was I had a tent stake, spare stake in the garage. So actually, how long is the stake? Stake is roughly about 9.5, 10 inches. 10 inches looking through the viewfinder. and I just measured up a bit that was the same dimension as my stake. I drilled me a hole in the center. Actually, it helps stabilize the structure going back that way. I had just tiny little bit of play in it. So putting the stake in there, actually when I'm outside I can drive the stake to the ground. I got a good about 5 inches worth I can drive in. Once you get it drove in the ground, it'll stabilize the stand, and it'll also tighten up my lap joint. So what do I got? Got 2 fairing strips, actually 6 foot tall. So by the time I bed them in, I think I got about 3 inches, 3¼ inches. What I didn't do, I didn't drill my holes all the way through, so what I did was leave about a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch at the base, so my fairing strips go in, but they don't go all the way through my board. Makes a good little sleeve pocket for the uprights. Just general targets I got from Gander Mountain. I had them, and this target here is actually Remington target. I went online, downloaded, had a target PDF file from Remington site. I went in and downloaded that. I copied it off on, printed off on photo paper. Works really good for targets. Actually, when you hit it, it stays together really well, and the photo paper works great for targets. I use it generally for my pistols, and the smaller ones I generally most of the time shoot my rifle. The smaller ones work fine with the pistol as well too. So in this case now I got, what is it, 10, 11 targets actually on the stand. And I got some PVC strips. You can use balloons if you wanted to. I got 4 of them, just something else to shoot at. And how to put it together. Actually the strips, you can go to Home Depot. These are just, actually, I'll go over the pricing in a minute. But these are just simple spring clips, so 37 cents a piece. Now I just use a simple old wood screw. It's about 1/2 inch long, and that's what I did. I put 4 of them in, and to hold my cardboard on, I just simply held the cardboard in place, put a clamp on there, and drilled a hole through the front, and used a wire tie top and bottom, both sides. And my cardboard is actually 2-ply. Recently had to put in a water heater, and on the top of the packaging for the water heater, on the top and on the bottom of the water heater, were these 2 pieces of cardboard. So they're going to work really well for the stand. I had them about a week or 2 ago, held on to them, so I used them for the backer for the targets. Simple staple gun for the 2 targets, and some PVC, little PVC samples on swatches that I use for, add little targets. Like I said, you can also use little tiny water balloons and clap them in. They work really well. What was the total cost of this thing? Actually, believe it or not, it's a pretty cheap project. My total cost comes out to $6.12. Basically what I had is 2 1x2x6s fairing strips, 2 each. For number 1 grade, they're $2.32 a piece. It comes out to $4.64. And the only other cost was 4 mini spring clamps at $4.37 each. Comes out $1.48. So my total cost for this target stand was $6.12. You can't beat that. I think even the cheapest targets I've seen online that were homemade were about 10 to 25. You got PVC about 25. I think some guys use some 1x6s, pine, and make pockets and all that stuff. They're about 15 to 18 bucks. For what I said, I got $6.12 in this target stand. I think it's going to serve me well. Got to use some paracord. I got rid of some scraps that have been sitting around in my garage for about 5 years. And to be honest, I think it's going to be very useful for me. You all have a good day. This is Earl from Virginia, and this is my homemade target stand. Hope you enjoy it, and hope you get a chance to make one yourself too. See y'all later.